Welcome to my views and news. Back with another video for you. First news story is about Fano fighters who are in control of a kebele in Agew Awi zone. For around a week, Fano fighters have been there. Amhara government officials promised that Fano fighters would withdraw from this kebele, but they are still there, they are armed. Secondly, top Tigray General military commander who was leading Tigray's forces is in the US. A few hours ago, he arrived in the US. Is he on a personal visit there? Does he have any official meetings there too in the US? And I remember that when war was ongoing in northern Ethiopia, that general was accused of being in touch with Americans. I think an audio, a video clip of that general was leaked back then. And he was talking to some, I think, American diplomats on a satellite phone back then. Thirdly, Eritrea today responded to aid theft allegations. Detailed statement is awaited. Eritrean government has not issued any detailed statement so far. We know that around 48 hours ago, Tigray inquiry committee shared contents of an inquiry conducted into aid theft allegations in Tigray, and that inquiry committee had accused Eritrea too. First response from Eritrea today by Yemane Gebretensae, Eritrean Information Minister. Thirdly, we are Sudan, where IGAD is sticking to its proposal. While the proposal has been rejected by the two sides, IGAD is insisting that the proposal should be accepted. And South Sudan, one of the countries affected by the war in Sudan, is now considering use of other ports. South Sudan is a landlocked country which has been relying on Sudan's Port Sudan for its oil exports and imports of materials required for oil exploration, oil production. But due to war in Sudan, South Sudan is feeling the pinch of this conflict because oil production could drop. Which other options are being considered by South Sudan? Which other ports could South Sudan use? Firstly, viewers, a correction for you before I share with you the four news stories. Correction is about a Fano fighter, a well-known Fano fighter. 2 days ago, I reported that a Fano fighter had been killed by security forces. Agew Awi. Agew Awi has been very active in Baidar, Gujam, in border areas, Amhara, Sudan border areas. He went missing, and then it was rumored that he had been killed. His dead body had been found, but he appeared this morning. He is alive. So he was detained by some forces, but he is alive. Now, four news stories. First one is about Fano fighters, Fano faction which have been trying to gain a foothold in Agew Awi zone. A sensitive zone because in this zone we have seen clashes between Fano fighters, Amhara farmers and Agew farmers. Agews live in large number in Agew Awi zone, and some groups in Agew community have been struggling, political struggle, armed struggle. They say the struggle is against discrimination, that Agews are being discriminated. They don't get their rights. That is why they want a separate regional state split with Amhara regional state. So we have seen clashes between Agos and Amharas in the past in Amhara region. And in the 2-year-long war, we saw that Agos came under pressure, and in some cases, Kemat communities were attacked by Ethiopian National Defense Force and Amhara forces, accusing them of supporting Tigray fighters. Things returned to calm, things returned to normalcy after the Pretoria deal. But now we're seeing that Fano fighters are trying to expand their influence. They want to reach border. They want to reach Sudan's border. And they want to have their basis on Agew Awi zone, Matakal border. Amhara region, Matakal, Benishangal region border. There are some mountains, forested areas which are very suitable for this type of guerrilla struggle launched by Fano fighters. And around 10 days ago, more than a week ago, hundreds of Fano fighters took control of a kebele in Agew Awi zone. Name of the kebele is Inibara. Inibara is a kebele. It is in Agew Awi. Agew Awi is in Agew Awi zone. Fano fighters reportedly from Gajam side, they entered Agew Awi. They took control of Inibara. And a week has passed. Still, Fano fighters are in Agew Awi. They are there, and they are several hundred reportedly. Around 1,000 Fano fighters are there. The security in charge of the area and Kafalio Esabalio, who is advisor to Amhara president, he held some meetings with locals there, and he said that Fano fighters would withdraw from Inibara. But still, Fano fighters are there. Agos claim that the land is being annexed by Fano fighters, by Amhara group members, that Amhara regional government is complicit, that regional government is supporting Fano fighters. That is why Fano fighters are still there in Inibara, no operation. While we are receiving reports about fighting in Gajam and other parts of Amhara region. Why is that no operation has been launched by Amhara regional government, Ethiopian National Defense Force against Fano fighters in Inibara, Agew Awi? Very valid question. If Amhara government is ignoring the presence of Fano fighters in Inibara, several thousand armed, it means that maybe Amhara government does not want to take action against these Fano fighters who are there. We know that Ethiopian army is raising a militia too in this area. Because in Agew Awi zone, Ethiopian army has recruited hundreds of youth who are being trained, armed, and they're going to be deployed in the fight against Fano fighters in this area reportedly. So far, locals have confirmed that Fano fighters are still there in Inibara, Agew Awi. I have been reporting that Agew Awi zone, Matakal, and Gajam, East and West Gajam. These are three areas which have been chosen by Skandar Naga's Amhara Popular Front. Skandar Naga is trying to organize his Fano fighters in all these three areas, very strategic areas, because from Agew Awi zone you can reach Matakal, and from Matakal you can enter Sudan, and from Gajam you can enter Valaga. Valaga is already very destabilized zone. And these areas, these zones have mountains, forests, valleys, very suitable for this type of guerrilla warfare adopted by Fano fighters. That is why we are seeing operations against Fano fighters in these three zones reportedly. But major operation is focused on Gajam. We have not seen major operation in Matakal, on Matakal Amhara border in Agew Awi zone. So far, Ethiopian army is focused on pushing Fano fighters out of Gajam. East Gojam and West Gojam, it seems. Secondly, viewers, a top Tigray general has arrived in the US. Is he on a private visit or on official visit? But obviously he was allowed by Ethiopian government to travel abroad. Tsadkan Gebretensae was spotted at an airport in the US a few hours ago. Videos are being shared of the Tigray general from the US. I have this clip of Tsadkan for you. Tsadkan was in touch with Americans when war was ongoing in Tigray. I think a video of Tsadkan talking to some diplomats was leaked too. In 2021, I think, if I am not wrong. And Tsadkan is the main man when it comes to key decision making in Tigray. And he is a government official now. He is interim government official. His rank is equal to that of vice president. Getachew is the president, and Tsadkan and another two are vice presidents. So we're not sure about the agenda of his visit, but we know that Gebretensae is already in the US. Gebretensae, founder of TPLF, but not very active in practical TPLF politics. He was allowed to travel abroad by Ethiopian government after Pretoria deal. He was in prison, he was released, and then he was allowed to visit abroad. He is in the US. Tsadkan is now in the US too. What is going to happen there? Let's see. We'll have to wait. We'll try to find out what Tsadkan is up to in the US. He might hold key meetings there. Several issues, several challenges which Tigray is facing. One of the main issues these days is the resumption of food aid delivery to Tigray, to Ethiopia. An investigation has been conducted by Tigray government about allegations of aid theft. TPLF's restoration as a political party is another key issue. Holding of election, return of IDPs, future status of Raya Volkai. A few days ago, Tsadkan said that IDPs would start returning to their homes very soon, before the start of winter season. But no start of return of IDPs to Western Tigray, Volkai, Thombra Sagade and Raya. So let's see. Tsadkan seems to be on a mission, but it's too early to say. He might be there on a private visit too. And when Tsadkan arrived at the airport in the US, he faced an angry man. The video I'm going to show you shows Tsadkan, and someone can be heard criticizing Tsadkan, saying that he led Tigray war. 1 million people were killed. He was leading Tigray revolution, and now he's having fun. He's enjoying in the US. We saw similar treatment meted out to Ethiopian government officials too. We have seen that happen to Ridwan, to Amos Shide, to some others who, when visited US and European countries, angry Tigrayans confronted them, tried to humiliate them. Same is happening with Tsadkan in the US. Watch the video from airport showing Tsadkan's arrival and an angry man expressing his anger.
General 1 million people died. He led the Tigray war. 1 million people died. The military man of Ethiopia, he led, and 1 million people died in Ethiopia just last year. Now he's enjoying the US. The General Tsadkan of the Tigray revolution. He's a leader. Now in Ethiopia, because of him, he led the greatest and the ugliest war last year. Just did 1 million people. 1 million people.
Thirdly was Eritrean first response to Tigray's investigation into aid theft which happened in Tigray. USAID, World Food Program, have suspended delivery of food aid to Tigray They suspended food delivery to Tigray, and after that, they suspended delivery of food to entire Ethiopia. They say it is being stolen, diverted, smuggled into neighboring countries. Inflated lists were prepared of the recipients, and regional government officials, federal government officials, military officials, all were involved in aid theft. Getachew, Tigray interim president, ordered an inquiry. Fisekidano, a Tigray general, briefed media after having conducted the inquiry 2 days ago, and he accused Eritrean military. The military had stolen thousands of quintals of wheat, thousands of liters of oil, and more than 1,000 quintals of peanuts. He accused Ethiopian federal forces and Tigray regional government, Tigray regional forces too, that they were involved as well in the aid theft. So all were involved in the aid theft. We are waiting for response from the parties which have been accused. 5 parties: Tigray, federal government, Eritrea, aid organizations, and coordinators of IDPs. No response from any party so far. Just Eritrea spoke today. Eritrean information minister tweeted a few hours ago, and he said that the reporting by AFP and other organizations, other media outlets about Eritrean involvement in aid theft is ludicrous. It does not merit any response. These media outlets have been trying to defame Eritrea. They have sinister purposes, almost quote unquote. That is what Yamane said today. So Eritrea has outrightly rejected the aid theft allegations leveled after an inquiry conducted by Tigray General Tsadkan. I said in the previous video that USAID World Food Program in their investigations did not name Eritrea. They did not say a word about any Eritrean involvement in aid theft. USAID investigation published in pieces by Washington Post only mentioned Ethiopian players. Tigray is accusing 5 players. Tigray is accusing aid organizations as well. So it's putting USAID World Food Program in a difficult position. What will they do? Will they hold internal investigation to hold people accountable in their organizations? How will they hold Eritrea accountable? If Tigray's investigation is accepted by USAID World Food Program, I think USAID World Food Program might call for international investigation. If it happens, the matter could be taken to some international organization like UN. The purpose would be or could be to corner Eritrea. Eritrea is outrightly rejecting its involvement. Does Tigray have any evidence? If Eritrean military stole thousands of quintals of wheat, does Tigray have any evidence? Tigray says 186 suspects have been identified. 7 are in custody. Names have not been made public. Who are the suspects? Top level commanders, government officials, or lower level officials? So I have not seen a list of 186 culprits identified by Tigray's inquiry committee, but this list should be made public. And the evidence which has been collected by Tigray inquiry committee should also be made public. That is how Eritrea can be questioned. Otherwise, Eritrea will deny its involvement in the aid theft report released by Tigray interim government. Lastly, we have Sudan, where IGAD is sticking to its proposal despite its rejection by the 2 warring factions in Sudan. IGAD held a summit in Djibouti 3 days ago, and IGAD came up with a proposal to mediate between Houthi and Al-Burhan. IGAD formed a committee of 4 African leaders led by William Ruto of Kenya. They were tasked with holding a meeting with Burhan and Houthi and a face-to-face meeting between the two generals in the next 10 days. Malik Agar from Sudan attended the IGAD meeting on behalf of Sudan. But the IGAD proposal, which included demilitarization of Khartoum, Sudanese capital, was rejected. Sudan objected to Kenyan role, that Kenya was leading the committee. The committee should be led by South Sudan's Salva Kiir. Rapid Support Forces outrightly rejected this mediation by IGAD. RSF said that Jeddah and Washington were already mediating, so there was no need of more platform for mediation. But IGAD says it is sticking to its position. Its proposal is being that it is pressing ahead with the proposal. Proposal has flopped basically. It has been rejected by two sides. IGAD says that since the decision was made by IGAD summit, so it can be overruled or amended by the summit. It means a new summit could be held. Let's see. South Sudan is suffering because of the war in Sudan. South Sudan is a landlocked country. It produces oil. Its economy relies a lot on oil production, oil exports. South Sudan has been using Sudan's port. Port Sudan was used by South Sudan for oil exports and imports of materials essential for oil production, but due to war in Sudan, oil production in South Sudan is affected, and South Sudan is considering using other ports too. Though oil facilities between Port Sudan and South Sudan are intact, they are completely safe. No attacks on oil facilities, oil pipeline, etc. From South Sudan to Port Sudan. But supplies have been hurt. Port Sudan is already very busy. Evacuations happened there. Dozens of international vessels arrived there. So, and people were evacuated from there. So, it means that South Sudan will have to consider other options if the war ongoing in Sudan goes on. That is why South Sudan has decided to use Mombasa port of Kenya for import of essential materials, chemicals necessary for continuing oil production. And South Sudan is considering the use of Djibouti's ports too. Ethiopia is dependent on Djibouti's ports. Around 80 to 90% of Ethiopian exports, imports use Djibouti's ports. Kenya has Mombasa, a port. Now South Sudan is going to start using a Mombasa port provisionally because there is no infrastructure built between South Sudan and Mombasa port. South Sudan will remain dependent on Port Sudan, but for the time being, it is trying to use Mombasa port for import of chemicals, materials which are essential for continuing the oil production in South Sudan. South Sudan is already facing an economic crisis, by the way. If this war goes on, it will hurt South Sudan a lot, I think. Thank you for watching.